Welcome back once again, dear students. Today we are going to talk about post-Mendelian phase of genetics or deviations from Mendelism. We all know that Mendel came up with some important principles of heredity, and out of all those principles, principle of segregation, which is better known as law of segregation because of its universal nature. Okay, it holds good for all the organisms, for all the characters, and that's why this is known as law of segregation. The other principles which were proposed by Mendel, although they hold good in pea plant and a large number of other cases, but there are some exceptions as well where these principles do not follow. Okay, so all such cases of inheritance where the Mendel's ratios are not followed, the Mendel's dihybrid and monohybrid ratios are not followed, all such cases of inheritance they constitute deviations from Mendelism. Okay, so how you can define the post-Mendelian phase of genetics? It is simply in after Mendel, a number of cases of inheritance were reported where the Mendel's laws do not apply. The ratios which were obtained in such cases of inheritance, they are the modifications of Mendel's 3 is to 1 ratio, monohybrid ratio, and 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1 ratio. That means dihybrid ratio. Okay. So any case of inheritance which deviates from Mendel's monohybrid ratio and Mendel's dihybrid ratio, it constitutes a deviation from Mendelism. Okay. And the period and the phase of genetics in which these deviations were reported, it obviously is known as post-Mendelism or post-Mendelian phase of genetics or post-Mendel, simply post-Mendelism. Okay. The first deviation from Mendelism which we are going to discuss today is incomplete dominance. We know that Mendel's stand was that in a heterozygous individual one of the two factors or allelomorphs is dominant over the other. अगर हम बात करेंगे Mendel's monohybrid cross की, Mendel concluded that in F1 one of the two factors is dominant. That means this R is dominant over this R, and that is why all the plants belonging to F1 they possess round seeds. Okay, this was Mendel's stand. That means this R is completely dominant over this R. Excuse me. The R, small r, it is not able to express its phenotype in presence of this R, and that is why all the plants belonging to F1 they possess round seeds. Okay. Now after Mendel, a number of workers came and they reported some inheritance cases where the law of dominance does not follow at all. Okay. They found that the phenotype of the offspring, the phenotype of the F1 hybrid, in some cases, it does not resemble the phenotype of either of its two parents. Okay. Instead, the phenotype of the offspring is intermediate between its two parents. Okay. That means in those cases, the concept of dominance does not follow, and all such cases of inheritance where the phenotype of offspring, okay, the phenotype of offspring is intermediate between these two parents, they constitute the incomplete dominance. Okay, so if you have to define incomplete dominance, you can simply define it like this: it is a pattern of inheritance in which the phenotype of heterozygote, or you can say phenotype of offspring, is intermediate between either of its two homozygotes or between either of its two parents. Okay, now the question is, how does this incomplete dominance arise? It arises because neither of the two alleles are fully dominant over the other. And मैं बात करूंगा यहाँ पे, if you are having two alleles for a character, okay, this allele, it is dominant but not fully dominant, it is partial dominant. जब हम एग्जाम्पल डिस्कस करेंगे आपको समझ आएगा. दिस एलील ए फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इट इज डोमिनेट बट नॉट फुली डोमिनेट ओवर दिस एलील small a. Okay, and obviously when you will get the offspring, okay, F1, that will not resemble either this one or it will not resemble either this one. Instead, the phenotype of F1, it will be a mixture of two. Okay, although the influence of this capital A will be more, but it will not be exactly similar to this parent. Okay, So simply you can remember that incomplete dominance arises because neither of the two alleles are fully dominant over the other. And incomplete dominance is also known as semi-dominance or partial dominance. Now let's understand this example. With the help of this example, you can understand in detail what is incomplete dominance. Mirabilis jalapa, which is also known as 4 o'clock plant, it possesses two varieties. One variety possesses, excuse me, one variety possesses red flowers, and another variety possesses white flowers. Okay, the petals of this variety they are red, the petals of this variety they are white. Okay, when these two plants are crossed, the F1 plants which are obtained, they do not show white colored flowers, neither they show red colored flowers. Instead, the color of flowers in F1 is intermediate. Okay, it is intermediate between red and white, which is pink. Okay, all the F1 plants produce flowers having pink color. And when these plants are allowed to self-fertilize, the resulting F2 generation includes 1/4 plants. I mean 1/4 plants they produce flowers with red petals. 1/2 of the plants they produce flowers with pink petals, and 1/4 plants they produce flowers with white petals. That means here the ratio is 1:2:1. Okay, they have the red petals, they have pink petals, and they possess white petals. And this ratio of 1:2:1, it is a deviation from Mendel's monohybrid ratio of 3:1. Okay, so in incomplete dominance, the phenotypic ratio in F2 generation is 1:2:1. Now let us look at the cross between red and white flowered varieties of 4 o'clock plant. Okay, here you can see this is the red colored parent, and this is the parent with white flowers. This is represented by CR, okay, and this is represented by CW and CW. Okay, when these are allowed to cross fertilize, this will produce the gamete CR, and this will produce CW. Okay, and in the F1 you will be having CR, CW. Okay, and this F1 plant, it does not resemble either the red flowered variety or the white flowered variety. Instead, the color of its flowers is pink, which is intermediate between red and white. And when these F1 plants are allowed to self-fertilize, okay, when they are allowed to self-fertilize, two types of gametes will be formed. CR यहाँ पे, CW, okay, यहाँ पे भी CR, CW, okay, and the F2 generation, it emerges in the ratio of 1:2:1. Okay, it emerges in the ratio of 1:2:1. So you can simply say that if you get a ratio of 1:2:1 in F2 generation, it is a case of incomplete dominance. ये वाला plant जो है, it is possessing red flowers. Okay, this plant and this plant, it possesses an intermediate flower color between white and red, that is pink, and this plant possessing CW, it will possess white colored flowers. Okay, so this is all about incomplete dominance. I hope you all understand this. See you soon with the next lesson. Till then, stay blessed and thank you.